Hello there guys. So today is a very exciting day for me. Finally, after 36 long years, I'm finally going to paint my Bugman's Dwarf Rangers. So bought these probably, I think it was about 86, 87, sometime around then, when I was 15. So although this channel is very much focused on historical wargaming, back in the day I used to play Warhammer Fantasy Battles when it first came out. Still got the second edition box here. Bit of a museum piece now, and I remember buying these dwarves. Really loved the dwarves basically. Never really got round to. I painted a couple of models very badly, and then used to play mainly just unpainted, which is fine when you're 15. And then it kind of you move on in life and do other things. So these got just parked, but I never got rid of them. I always kept them. I've had several house moves since then, and they've always made it through the cull. Never sold them. And with the recent announcements of the Warhammer the Old World coming back, I thought, right, now is the time, if I'm ever going to do it, to paint these blooming models. So yeah, this video is going to be about that. I'm going to get them out of the box, show you a couple of things that I painted when I was 15, which aren't particularly good, and then go through the painting process for getting the Bugman's Rangers onto ready for the launch of the Old World. So also a bit of nostalgia as well. I didn't realise these were actually, well, from what I could gather, these were sculpted by the Perry twins, and of course playing a lot of historical wargaming now, I've got loads of Perry stuff through from my Napoleonics and other things, so it's funny how the world goes around in terms of how life works. So okay, so enough chatter, let's get on with the painting. So very much a tabletop standard painting tutorial, this one, guys, so hope you enjoy it. A bit of nostalgia for me, and let's get over to the painting table. Okay then guys, so this is the model I'm going to do as my test one. So it's one of the Rangers from the box. Now I think there's 4 different sculpts for the infantry, and then you've got a champion, Bugman himself, Joseph Bugman, and I think there's a standard bearer and a musician as well. But this is one of the rank and file dwarves that you get. So I'll come back to it in a minute, but before I just show you what I'm going to do to start off with, because obviously it's on its very small base at the moment. I'll just show you some of the stuff that I painted when I was a wee boy. So this was Bugman himself, Joseph Bugman. So actually, do you know what? I was 15 when I painted this chap, and it weren't bad really, I suppose. All very block colours. I didn't do any washes, or I didn't know anything about washes at the time. It looks a bit pink. I think that's supposed to be like a light brown, but I'm not sure what colours I used. But it looks a bit pink to me. But I guess it weren't too bad. I think I painted 4 of the box. This was the standard bearer. Actually, those eyes aren't too bad. I'm not very good at eyes, but actually they're not too bad. I don't know how I did then. But anyway, so these again, very block colours, and I'm not sure I cleaned the model up very well either at the time, but actually that's not too bad. Now I'm looking at it closely, I didn't do too bad a job. And this is one of the rank and file, just to give you a comparison again. So actually those eyes are, yeah. Anyway, but again, very block colours, quite pink, but yeah, not too bad for the time. Okay, so I'm going to take a couple of photos of these, so I've got something to compare and contrast. Now, I have got some paint stripper for these, so I might strip these down, but I'll do one as a test, but if not, I'll have to just spray over them, but should be right to do that. Right, let me just come back to the other model, and we'll just show you my first step in the process. Okay, so what I'm going to do first off, because they're on these very small plastic bases. Now, these have been on for like 30 odd years, so they should just, they just snap off basically, so that's that gone, because we're now looking to mount these on these 25 by 25 square bases, which is what the new spec is for Warhammer the Old World. So I bought just some of these. What we'll be doing with these as well, I will be putting a magnet on the bottom of these, and I'm going to get some metallic magnet paper that you get, and I can stick these into a box and keep them safe. So first job is just to take the bottom off, and all I'm going to do is just going to clip this off. I've just got myself a pair of decent clippers. These are quite decent ones. I'm literally just going to snip that off there, and then that off there. So that just comes off there. And then all I'm going to do then is just, I've got a metal file. I'm just going to file down these just to make them a little bit smoother and just clean it up. So I'll just do that and come back. Right, so that's all done. So I've cleaned his feet up, I've glued him onto the base. I've also added the shield. These are plastic shields you get with the set, so I've added that on. I've cleaned him up a little bit, got rid of some of the chaff you get on there. So he's ready now for undercoating. Now you could paint him, some people like to do the shields off and put the shields on later. I prefer to do it this way just because it's easier, and also because this metal bit sticks in the middle, so you can blend that in with the rest of the shield when it comes to that. And also, you know, you can't really see behind him there, so if I'm a little bit sloppy around these areas, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to just give him an undercoat of black, and I'll come back after that. Right, there you go, there's the black undercoat done. You have to make sure, especially with metal models, that you give it a good couple of coats. So nice light coats, 2 light coats is fine. Make sure you spray underneath as well that way, not just on the top, because it's very important for the next stage, because I'm going to be using a Zenithal highlight, which is basically a grey spray. So I use Citadel, because I'm going to mainly use contrast paints on this. And basically, when you're spraying a Zenithal, you may have heard of this before, you're basically spraying down on top of the model, and it creates natural highlights. And the black undercoat with the grey top coat gives you these natural highlights, and it really does make the model pop. So I'm going to do that stage next, and I'll come back. It's basically like a 45-degree angle around the model. Okay, you have to be very light touch with it, especially when using a rattle can. If you've got a spray, an air gun, you can do it fine. With rattle cans, you've got to be very careful of just multiple small sprays going around the model. I'll do that next. Okay, so that's the Zenithal highlight done, and as you can see, the model really now starts to stand out. You can really see all the features. It really makes that pop with that black undercoat and that grey top spray. Fantastic looking model. Really looking forward to painting this one. And by the way, the reason you don't have to use contrast paints for this method. You could just use standard paints. I tend to use standard paints when I'm painting, but I still like to do the Zenithaling effect because it really makes it easier to paint. You can actually see everything. Sometimes with a flat undercoat, it's really hard to see what you're doing. But I've got one more step to go. I'm just going to give it a quick dry brush using just some white. You can use any old white, just to pick out some more of the features and just at the top area really. So I'm just going to do that and I'll come back. Okay, so that's just that white dry brush on top. Just picks out the top of the material, around the nose, and that white will just end on the boots here. So it just helps to pick up on the back of the crossbow. And what it'll do, it just helps to pick up the contrast paint, just makes it stand out a little bit more. So that's all the undercoating done, and actually the model's ready for painting. So I'm going to come back with the first colour. Okay, so the first colour I'm going to do all the skin, so the face and the hands there, and that's using contrast dark oath flesh. Okay, so that's the skin area done, not too long there. So I quite like dark oath flesh because it gives you that kind of more grubby, darker, you know, they've been underground kind of feel. So the next colour is going to be for the kind of tunic and the arms and the back of the head here. So I'm going to use ultramarines blue, so I'll just do that. Okay, so that's the blue done, and as you can see, that Zenithal highlighting is already starting to pick up all the various parts of the contrast paint. Don't worry too much about the shield, it's quite a flat area, but I do think later that kind of blends all that in, so that's fine, but that's just the base coat for it. So that's all that done. And then the next colour we're using is Cygor brown, and that's for the boots. Okay, so that's the boots done. That's the Cygor brown. I think it gives a really nice natural leather look to things. That's that done. So the next colour I'm using is Garrigak Sewer, and that's going to be for the belt and also for the quiver at the back there and the little pouch that's on the bottom there. So, okay, let's do that now. Okay, so that's the quiver done, that little pouch there and the belt. So next colour I'm going to use is Wildwood, and that's going to be for the crossbow and for the handle of the axe. Okay, so that's the Wildwood applied to the crossbow and to the handle of the axe. It is very similar to that Garrigak Sewer, but there is some sort of differences there. And also the rope around the edge of the crossbow, I just did that with some skeleton horde. Okay, so the only last thing to do now for the contrast paint is Black Templar, and that is for the scabbard of the sword. Okay. Okay, so that's that black Templar applied. It's still drying there, but I'm just going to move swiftly on to the beard. So I'm going to do that with Gorguntra fur. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay, so that's the beard done with Gorguntra fur. So the next job I'm just going to dot in something for the eyes. So I don't bother with white. I use this spaceship exterior, which is kind of an off-white. It's not a grey. It's more of an off-white. So I'm going to put that in just now. Okay, so that's the eyes done. Just put a dot of black in the middle. It looks a bit surprising, but that's fine. So the next job is just to do some highlights. I'm going to highlight the skin. So for that, I'm going to be using Cadian Flesh Tone and just give a highlight on the nose, cheeks and hand. So let's do that. Okay, so that's the skin highlighted. You can see it's brought to life a little bit more now. Around the cheeks, and the nose and the hand there. So next job, I'm just going to highlight the beard. So I'm just going to be using Deathclaw Brown for that. So let's do that. Okay, so that's the beard highlighted as well. And then I'm going to highlight the boots. For that, I'm going to use some Doomball Brown. Okay, so that's the Doomball Brown, which is just really applied to the tips of the boots there, just to give them a little bit of an extra lift. And the final highlight I'm going to do is just on the wood for the handle and the crossbow. I'm just going to be using some Baneblade Brown. Okay, so that's the final bit of highlighting done just on the edges of just picked up the edges of the crossbow there and the edge of the axe there. So now I'm going to move over to the metallic areas. So for that I'm using this Scale 75 black metal. So just apply that. Okay, so there's all the metal areas done. So he's got his helmet, his shield, the axe, the chainmail, bit around the belt there. There's a bit on the crossbow bolt there as well. So he's almost done, getting there. So the next step is just to put a wash on. So I'm just going to put a Nuln Oil wash all over those metal parts. So that next. Okay, so that's the Nuln Oil dried. And I've also gone back in and done the eyes again because, to be honest with you, he was looking far too startled. So I've just made those pupils look a bit bigger. And that's turned him down a little bit. I'm not happy with those now. Right, final step for this phase of the model is just to add some highlight to the metal. So I'm going to use Ironbreaker. So just do that. Okay, so that's pretty much him done. I've got to do some more on his shield, but I'm going to do his basing first. But I think from a tabletop standard, that's not too bad going. And I imagine he'll look quite nice and ranked up. And again, didn't take too long. Each of those different processes only got kind of like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So you could easily batch paint, half a dozen of these in a night. So, okay, so my basing is basically I'll start with this Vallejo earth texture. So I'll just apply that and then come back. Okay, so that's dried now. So next step is to add some Agrax Earthshade to the base. So do that next. Okay, so that's the Agrax Earthshades now dried. It's just darkened down to that earth texture. So the next step is just to lighten it up again. So I'm just going to use this Tyrant Skull dry brush over the surface, and also using a small dry brush. I'm literally just going to very lightly dry brush around the shield, and with this Tyrant Skull, and that just literally just weathers it down a bit as well. And then I'm going to then do the edging of the base with Steel Legion Drab. So come back after that. Okay, so that's the base almost finished. So I've done the edging, done the Tyrant Skull, and also the shields had a little bit of the Tyrant Skull on it just to weather it down a little bit. So it's almost there now. So just final bits for the base. I use this Battlefield Grass Green from Army Painter, and literally going to dab some PVA around and just dunk him in there. So I'll just do that to finish off the base. So guys, he's pretty much done. So I'm pretty happy how that's turned out. Got to remember this is going to be rank and file, so I think for the level of detail I've gone for, it's not too hard to do this. It's not going to take me too long to paint up the whole regiment, and I think it's going to look pretty good once they're all ranked up together. I'm pretty happy with that. There's just one last job to do, and that is his shield design. Now on the box art, they've all got these lovely kind of tankards of beer with frothy Bungbud's ale coming out of it. Now, there's no way I'm good enough to hand paint that. That's way beyond my limits. And you can't buy any, well, I can't see any shield transfers for Bugman's either. Not that I haven't found any anyway. So, but what I have seen as well with Bugman's in some pictures and some artwork is like a stylised capital B. So I'm going to give that a go just to see if I can make that work on the shield. I mean, worst case scenario, I can just repaint the shield and just cover it over. So I'm going to give it a go and see if I can finish this guy off. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so there's the finished model. Yeah, pretty happy with how he has turned out. I think the shield design is okay as well. I think that B works pretty well. And again, once they're all ranked up, I think that'll look pretty good. If they ever do bring out a shield transfer, I can always just update the models. But I think for the time I've put into it, as you can see, it's not hugely difficult to do. Using the contrast paints and a little bit of just a little bit of highlighting, nothing too technically challenging really. And once you've done your basing on there, it makes the model look really nice. Quite happy with him. As I say, it's a tabletop standard, guys, so I'm sure there are far better versions of this out there, but for me and for my standard, I'm pretty happy with that. And just as a quick comparison, so that's the new model, and this was the 15-year-old me version. So I think I've come on a little bit since then, which is good, although I'm not knocking myself. I think the fact I actually painted something when I was 15 was good, but pretty happy with how he's come out compared to the old model. I've got to see how I can get on with stripping these guys down, getting the paint off, but yeah, okay, so that's kind of part one really for this video. The next part will be, because I need to spend probably another week or two getting all these guys painted up for the rank and file, and then I need to go on to Bugman himself, to the musician, the standard bearer and the champion. I'm not going to do a full painting video for those, but what I'll probably just do is show you the finished articles and how they look, and then hopefully have all the regiment ready to go, ready for the Old World launch. So good, right, so I just come back for the characters when they're done. Okay guys, so I've got all the command characters done, so we'll start with the musician. So really love this model, really nice pose. I've kept this colour scheme pretty similar, so I've used the blue. It's got a bit of stud work on there. He's got this kind of rough around the edge. Again, all contrast paints, and he's a nice addition to the squad. So he's come out all right. And then we've got the flag bearer. Now the flag needs a bit of work. Now the flag, so I'm pretty happy with the model itself. I think again, cracking pose, really nice model. Now on the box art, he had more of a kind of leather jerkin on, so I've kind of gone for that as well, just to try and make him stand out a little bit. And I've used the same process for the boots for the gloves as well, so kind of a leather look for those. Everything else pretty much follows that as well. Now the flag itself it's actually from the back of the box, which is cardboard. Now, not too keen on cardboard flags, but without anything else to use, I thought I'd give it a go. So as you can see, it's a little bit rough around the edges, so I need to tidy it up a little bit more. I mean, I actually think it works quite well for the model. It just needs a bit of tidying up work, so it's not quite finished yet, but you can't really have a flag bearer without a flag. And again, there's no way I'm good enough to be painting anything like this. But I think it's, I was pretty reluctant to cut the box up as well, because I've kept that box pristine for so many years, but he is a flag bearer, he needs a flag. So yeah, pretty happy with him. And then we have the champion. I think this is possibly my favourite model. I really do like this model. He's brilliant, he's really good. Kind of peg leg guy, brilliant. Really characterful face, amazing hair. I wish I had that hair. And slightly larger shield on him as well. And this kind of like almost pirate-esque kind of feel to him, which again I think picks up quite well with that kind of worn leather look. And again, just contrast paints with a bit of highlighting, nothing too difficult to achieve really. And his shield as well. They had slightly different design for the shape for the shield for the characters as well. But I think he's possibly my favourite model. Not sure how good he's going to be in combat, limping around, swinging that axe, but there you go. That's fine. And then finally, the big man himself. This is Joe Bugman. So there he is. Again, great, really nice model, really characterful face. The only thing I did on this one, looking at the box art, there wasn't a contrast colour that I found matched his beard, which was kind of more like a light brown rather than blonde or red. So I actually used just normal paints for this. I think I used Steel Legion Drab, and then some deck tan to highlight, then a bit of Agrex Thirst Shade, and a bit of highlighting on top. So again, nothing too particularly, not difficult to do, it's just I didn't really have a colour that suited. And again, a lot of detail on the model for such a small model as well. Really nice sculpt, really. And again, again, he was kind of more of a leather jerkin rather than the blue. So that's it. So I've managed to get all of the other rank and file done. So what I'll do now, I'll flip the camera around, I'll get them all ranked up, and we'll see the final regiment, Bugman's Rangers, all done, ready for the old world. Okay guys, so there you go, there are Bugman's Rangers. 36 years later, I've finally got the regiment on the table, ready to do battle with all the old world can throw at them. As you can see, it's a slightly odd number because there's 17 in the box, you get 17 models. So no matter how you try and rank them up, there's always an odd rank, but it doesn't matter, it's fine. As you can see, they look pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with these. It didn't take too long. I didn't do them as quick as I thought, but to be honest, I'm doing other projects as well, so I've kind of done them in between different things. I was doing them in batches of 3. But I think they look particularly nice, and I'm really happy. I think that shield design works as well. I'm quite happy with that. I think it does stand out for the table. Again, they're all slightly different. It looks like they've all been kind of, you know, they've daubed them on themselves rather than some sort of print. But I think if they ever did bring out a transfer, then I'd probably update those. But yeah, really happy with how these have come out, and I think they're going to look pretty cool on the tabletop with all the other dwarves I've got in mind. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that little journey down memory lane, and some painting as well. And looking forward to the old world coming out hopefully this year. All right, you take care of yourselves. Catch you soon.